It is Tuesday night, October 28th. The time is 5:32 p.m. And if you're joining us, thank you. And here's something to know, because we are a show of the people, as we've told you many, many times. We know the World Series is going on. We appreciate that you're here with us. And you know what? You can mute Joe and John on the call tonight. No shade on them. They do a fantastic job. I don't know if there's a guy in baseball that captures a moment better than Joe Davis does right now. But based on what we know, if you hang out with us for about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and 30 minutes, you're still going to have about 4 hours of baseball left after that. So we appreciate you being here. As always, my co-pilot to my right or left, depending on which way it looks to you guys, Vegas Mack. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is game 3 or 4 or 5, but
Right.
yeah. I've never seen a double header before in a World Series. That was kind of interesting, but man, we got so much to talk about. It's where do we want to put our toe in first? That's the thing. It's big things too. It really, it's a lot of big things that we need to talk about. So, thanks for the intro. Let's just dive in.
Yeah, there's no shortage of stuff. And if you were one of the people that toughed it out last night at Dodger Stadium and stayed, which the bulk of the crowd did, I saw the video and pictures of the parking lot, which is, anybody that's been to Dodger Stadium knows the parking lot there is an absolute shit show, for lack of a way better term. You might have been better off just paying your parking for tonight's game if you had tickets and just staying in the damn parking lot, because I've heard a few people that were at the game, and we're talking like almost 2.5 hours to get out of that parking lot after watching that game that went 6 hours and 39 minutes. If you missed it, I don't know what the hell you're doing at this time of year, because there's no shortage of stuff to go around. We are in the top of the second inning right now from Chavez Latrine, still 0-0. Shohei Ohtani, of course, got on base, so that means 10 times in his last 10 at-bats in this World Series.
Jeez.
He's been on base. He is also on the mound tonight. We're going to the bottom of the second right now. I'm interested to keep this and follow along with this. Obviously, we'll keep you as apprised as we can as what's going on there. But, Mac, you hit the nail dead on the freaking head, my brother. There is no shortage of stuff in the sports world, so it's time to get a little trendy. What's going on out there in the sports world outside of the World Series? And obviously the big story last week, we weren't on at the end of last week when this hit, but the gambling probe as far as it comes to the NBA. And obviously it's a stain on the league. More is to come, I would assume, from this. We found out today that Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, who is at one of the center figures in this, $8 million tax lien that he had on him when this all started last year. And I want to put something very, very out front here, because everybody thinks they're in the know with this, and you really don't know, but there is one thing that is clear here. And I've heard people, and I'm not going to name names, if you follow us on any of our social channels, you've seen us share these stories. At Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. The reason that this was snuffed out is because gambling is legalized in so many places. If you are a fool and you think that this stuff hasn't been going on for decades and decades and decades, which means you didn't listen to my interview with Bill Krakenberger a couple weeks ago, this stuff has been going on for a long time, Mac. The reason that it was caught was because gambling is legal, and the sports books and the multiple different sports books is why we were able to snuff something out like this.
Yeah, we'll go back just for a second. We'll give you your history lesson. Since the very first organized sport was played, whatever sport that is, there's been gambling. Let's just be honest. It's gambling gambling in sports, professional sports, goes hand in hand. And of course, yeah, we're now living in an age where it's everywhere. You see it on your screen constantly. Every game, it was kind of not talked about. Now it's talked about a lot. And you're right. If the reason it got caught is because there was so much money being piled on kind of one event that was kind of an outlier. with Rozier. So yeah, I mean, but this is a big deal. I mean, when you've got years and years of the FBI investigating you, you've got the mafia involved in this. I mean, this is I mean, this is not small potatoes at all. This is a legitimate thing, and like you said, for anybody to think that they know anything about this, you really don't, unless you're somewhat on the inside.
Yeah, and all these people saying, "See, I told you this was going to happen when they legalized sports betting," and
No,
no, stop,
no.
just stop right there, because again, this has been going on for longer than you can understand, and longer than you can completely like wrap your head around here. And it's funny because one of the things that Bill mentioned when I had that sit down with him on the Thursday show a few weeks back is, you see a lot of these people on these major networks that are passing along their bets because they're expected to, because now their respective network has a gambling contract with either, DraftKings or ESPN Bet or whatever the case may be. They're people that aren't actually betting. And I'm not saying that's not a blanket statement. I'm not saying everybody that's on these networks doesn't bet their own bets. But for the most part, do you want to listen to a guy that's been doing this his entire life? Or do you want to listen to somebody on TV like a certain guy that runs a prominent football website that says, oh, this will be the end of player prop betting? No, it won't be. If anything, this just heightens the point that, and the actions of people that don't think straight does not cover the entire gamut here. And that's something I think is very important to remember. The other thing that's important to remember is we are going to continue to learn more and more about the story as it unfolds, as much as that is not a great thing for anybody involved. Now Congress has basically said, hey, Adam Silver, we're going to have a conversation about how you guys handled this.
Yeah, and all the major sporting outlets, kind of look at this, and they're going to take a step and a half back, not just a step and a half back, maybe even two steps, and say, okay, what can we do to ensure that this doesn't happen to us? We don't want this to happen in our sport. So there's already, you always hear they during spring training or the beginning of the year of any season, you always hear the players, they talk about gambling and whatnot. But listen, these all these major sports organizations are going to take every step that they possibly can, and let the players know that, listen, we saw it with a couple of players in baseball. Baseball immediately, when they found out a little bit about what might have been going on with a couple of the players for the Guardians, that was it. They were done. They were shut down basically for the year. So it's there. It's like anything else. It's like with the steroids, and when we had that scandal, like you can't stop it. It's going to happen. There's again, like, I hate to say it, but there's always bad apples that fall from the tree. It's just, you want to try to limit it as much as you possibly can, because it's going to happen. Let's be honest. There's going to be another betting scandal. There's going to be another steroid scandal. These things are going to happen in sports, because I mean, that's how we're human. We make mistakes, and people sometimes just get bought out. It's all there is to it.
Yeah, and to furthermore, as more things ripple from this, Heather Dinich had a report on ESPN today that SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has asked the NCAA to rescind a pending rule change that will allow athletes and athletic department staff members to bet on professional sports, which is set to begin on November 1st. Sankey sent a letter to NCAA President Charlie Baker on October 25th, stating that during a conference meeting a couple weeks prior, the message of our presidents and chancellors was clear and united. This policy change represents a major step in the wrong direction. So again, there's another sporting outlet that is trying to be preventative in this measure and get ahead of this. A lot of people, the timing of when that announcement came out couldn't have been worse, because it was right when this whole thing went down. So
Right.
Again, to reemphasize Mack's point there, a couple bad apples are always going to fall off the tree. The reason that this thing was caught was because of it being legal now. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades, and we could go farther back and farther back and farther back. Other things that are kind of trending around the NFL world, quarterback news this week, Mac, and we should be seeing the return of J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson would be Thursday night on Thursday Night Football as the Ravens travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Brock Purdy is, quote, likely to return, which I question San Francisco's motives there, playing on the shitty turf at MetLife Stadium. The Commanders, on the flip side, being extremely, extremely cautious, as they should be with a franchise quarterback with the situation of Jaden Daniels. Billy V checking in, who was just in Denver. And speaking of quarterbacks, there's a guy who had a good weekend, Bo Nix. Yeah, I told you people in Denver you were going to love Bo Nix, and there's confirmation, boots on the ground in Denver this weekend from our guy Billy V. So interesting news on the quarterback front, Mac, as we get to this part of the season that is really, hey, it's time to let the cream rise to the top, and quarterback play has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good for a couple of teams. I mean, obviously the Ravens really need Lamar back. I think the one situation in Arizona is going to be really interesting to see what happens with Kyler Murray, because let's be honest. I mean, I think the Cardinals, from an offensive standpoint, have been probably better without him in there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them. But yeah, I mean, this is the time now. You've got we kind of start to have a book on some of these teams. We kind of have a good feel as to what they are. Minnesota's another one. I don't know that J.J. McCarthy is going to make a difference with Minnesota. I think for me, Minnesota's kind of in that area that I don't see them right now as a playoff team. I don't foresee them this year as a playoff team. I don't like the way that they're trending. I don't think that JJ McCarthy is going to help, because, and I'm basing that solely off of what he did before he got hurt. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people of the great quarterback class that we've kind of hinted on a couple of those guys. McCarthy's still the great unknown because he's missed 22 of 24 games. We just don't know what he is. Obviously, when you've got guys like Justin Jefferson to throw the football to, that makes any quarterback's job a lot easier and stuff like that. Right now, going on as we speak in the NHL, the Frozen Frenzy, but you probably didn't know about it because the NHL kind of dropped the ball on this marketing-wise. You didn't really hear much about it until late yesterday. We knew, because we're a bunch of puckheads on this show, that it was coming up. But, and TJ will be back with us tomorrow. One of the things that he mentioned when we were talking about it off camera was the fact that, they're doing it twice, and they're doing it twice, like, early in the season. And we've got every team in the NHL on the ice today, including the Dallas Stars, who just agreed to terms on an 8-year extension with defenseman Thomas Harley, who had a good postseason last year. Full no movement clause in the deal for a Dallas team that's kind of struggled a little bit out of the gates. But as a whole here, Mac, just a very piss poor job by the NHL, especially while they have good momentum coming off of last year to kind of market this. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games going on right now, one of which, the first one to start, was the Penguins and the Flyers. They are 1:46 left in overtime in a 2-2 game there. Sidney Crosby with a goal. Just a poor job of marketing by the NHL here. Really kind of disappointed in them dropping the puck, if you will.
I love the concept of it. I mean, the concept of it is great, but I will question a couple of things. The first thing is, why now? Like, I mean, like this is not you. No offense. I mean, we all like hockey. I mean, I love the fact Carolina just scored to take a 3-2 lead over Vegas. I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm watching the game, but listen, eyes are not on you right now. One, it's early in the season. Two, it's the middle of football season. Three, you got the World Series. This does not seem like do you, I mean, I guess look at, do you think you're going to steal? I mean, and I'm talking Blue Jays fans. I'm talking, Canadians. Like, are you going to steal those Canadians away from watching the Blue Jays tonight?
It's not a chance.
No, and here's no joke. I mean, all of Canada is behind Toronto. I mean, you're just not getting the eyes. This is not, Saturday night hockey in Canada kind of a thing. Like, it's not the right time for it. Great concept. Let's wait a week. I mean, let the World Series finish. Maybe right after the World Series, like next week when it's done, might have been a great time to do it. Really, really promote it. But I just think the timing of it is really, really poor. Like I said, great idea, love it, but don't like it right here in this spot. Thanks, Bill.
No, not at all. And maybe this is a good sign for the Blue Jays tonight. The only game that's gone final in the NHL, two Canadian teams playing each other. Toronto was knocked off Calgary 4-3. Matty Nyes 2 goals as well as Domi in that one. TJ's boy Pavel Skorofiev for the Golden Knights has 2 more to get 9 as his tally so far in the season. Other games just kind of early underway there. Lightning and Preds starting the second period 1-0 Tampa there. Blues and Red Wings tied at 1. Jets up 2-0 on the absolutely struggling Wild out of the gate. So plenty of stuff to talk about as far as that goes. As far as the rest of the headlines, it was kind of a quiet sports day headline-wise today, which I think we all kind of appreciate because the last 72 hours has just been absolutely friggin' bananas. From what we saw in the World Series last night, we had a whole weekend of NFL ass kickings all weekend. Saturday was kind of a goofy day on the college football slate, and we're going to get through a lot of that here in just a little bit. Washington, the Wizards, blowing out the 76ers right now in the late third quarter. Miami up big on Charlotte right there as well. Some other games going on. Plenty of stuff to get to, as I mentioned. Let's go back to last night and what we saw last night with Game 4 going on. 18 innings, 6 hours, 39 minutes, 609 pitches. Mr. October, Freddie Freeman, the newest version of that we have with the walk-off home run. Shohei Ohtani, as we said, on base 9 times last night. Started right back up again tonight in the first inning. Will Klein was absolutely fantastic for the Dodgers last night. 4 innings, no earned runs in relief, 37 runners left on base, which sounds like a lot, but not in an 18-inning game.
I got to hand it to the guys in the bullpen. Again, we played basically a whole baseball game plus where there were no runs scored, and this is a tough thing for both the managers. They're looking at this and going, okay. And I'll use Clayton Kershaw as an example. Could Clayton Kershaw have gone more than the few batters that he did? Absolutely. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, we're already deep into this. We got to play in just a few hours. What if we run into the situation again? Who do I have to come back the next day? And so there's a lot that factor into that. We just kind of get to the end where, finally there was nobody else in the bullpen. It's like, young man, here's the ball. As you can see, there's nobody in the bullpen. This game is yours. It's the way that it has to be. But that's baseball. I mean, I love it. I mean, I know there will be some people that complain oh my God, it was boring. Listen, we don't ever say, and I'll use hockey as an example again, when a hockey game goes into the third overtime, and nobody scored since the first period, nobody says, oh, what a boring hockey game. We're still on the edge because we know it's just the way these games are, and these playoff games, this is the way they were meant to be played. That was absolutely classic. I mean, runners thrown out at every base. I mean, when is the last time you saw a base runner thrown out at first base on a call from the umpire? I've never seen that. We think it's a ball 4, but it's not ball 4. So now we throw it to first. I mean, guys, Shohei was thrown out at second. We had Oscar thrown out at third. Multiple guys thrown out at home. I mean, oh my gosh, it was absolutely a bucket load of things going on.
Yeah, JD and Smoltzy actually talked about it last night as we got into the waning hours of the evening on the West Coast here. And the only thing we really didn't see last night was a suicide squeeze. I mean, that was about the only thing we didn't see in last night's game. Shohei Ohtani getting on base in his first plate appearance to start this game. That extends his record to 11 consecutive plate appearances reaching base, which is an MLB record in a World Series. The first in MLB history to reach base 9 times in a postseason game. The first time in MLB history we've seen somebody with 3 multi-homer games in a single postseason. He was walked intentionally in the 9th, 11th, 13th, and 15th. and had a 4-pitch walk in the 17th. And, I get it, the Dodger fans are booing when you take the bat out of his hands, but I say, welcome to my life as a Giants fan when Barry Bonds was playing for the Giants. I wouldn't pitch to this son of a bitch one more time in this entire World Series. You know what?
No.
He comes up for, I don't care what the situation is. Let somebody else beat us. Last night, he made the move to walk Ohtani and then Betts, and, we know what happened and all that stuff, but still, it's just, I think both managers did a very, very, very good job last night. All things considered, all the circumstances. There was a couple of guys that were sent home that were thrown out by a mile that I probably wouldn't have sent home, but you got to take those chances in a game like this. And let me throw this out there, as we sit here in the top of the third in a 1-0 Dodger lead. A lot of people like, oh, how are the Blue Jays going to bounce back from this? Listen, let me tell you, if there's a team that can bounce back from this and can flush last night as quickly as anybody possibly could, it's the Blue Jays. It's just the way they play.
The one comparison that I had in this as this game was going on, if you remember when the Red Sox played the Dodgers,
I was just going to go there. Keep going.
Yeah, Nasty Nate. That's kind of where he got his real kind of that moniker anyway. Pitched a whole 9 innings. But here's the thing we have to remember. He lost that game. The Red Sox lost that game with Nate. But what did Nate Eovaldi do by pitching those innings? He allowed the Red Sox bullpen to rest. I mean, as much as they could. I mean, he picked up the slack, and yeah, he got the L and whatnot. But to a man, they said when the Red Sox won that World Series, they were like, the reason we won this World Series was because of Nate Eovaldi. What he did in that game that we lost in extra innings, that he saved us that night. So yeah, I mean, and that's all I could think of with Toronto. I was like, listen, teams have come back from losses just like that and won. Big game tonight, though. I mean, tonight is crucial. The Jays need to get tonight, without a doubt. If they don't get tonight, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. But it can be done. But, well, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, from a managerial standpoint, I think everybody pushed the right buttons last night.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up that game. Okay, two things here. Again, a show for the people. Like, where do you get this kind of betting information? I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. My goodness, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just murdered a baseball. It's 2-1 Toronto. This guy is on a next generation kind of run too that's not being talked about. But let me throw this out first here, because I know you got some thoughts on Vladdy.
I do.
That game you were talking about with Nate Eovaldi. Game 3 of the World Series in Los Angeles, bottom of the 18th inning, third batter in the order at the plate, no outs with a 3-2 count. The exact same thing night. Second, again, this is where we're a show for the people. If you see Brad Paisley out on the field doing anything before a game, go to whatever betting app you're on and pound extra innings, because he was the guy on the field for that game too. So let's talk about Vladdy, though. I mean, just an incredible run he's on. That slide he had last night was a thing of beauty at home plate. If it wasn't for Ohtani, we'd be talking about how great Vladdy's run is, the same way we're talking about Ohtani right now.
Yeah, I've been kind of on Vlad for quite a while this season, because I think I saw a change in him, and I'm not going to say it was the contract and whatnot, but the way he plays, and I look at it from this way, I watch the way he plays defensively. I mean, and I don't mean this, I do mean it. I think he came across as a lazy baseball player. I think he did, and kind of what he did. So. From a defensive standpoint, but you watch him now, there's a ground ball to first, he's sprinting to first base. I mean, the way that you said, like, he scored on that run, just the way he is and you watch him in the dugout. And again, I watched a lot of Toronto games this year. He has what, I don't know what caused it, but he has become a genuine leader on that team. A real, I think, vocal, and a leader by the way he's done stuff. Like I said, you watch a lot of guys who play first base. They'll field the ground ball. They kind of half-ass their way to first base, and not him. He's getting the ball. He is sprinting to first base. It's those little things that that you see from a different when you look at it from a coaching standpoint, or like as you're analyzing the game. Those are the things that I see. I just think he stepped up his game. He's always been the off. He's always been the bat. That's never been the problem. But you watch him run the bases and everything else that he's done. He's just a different ball player.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how this holds up. We're going to the home half of the third here in Los Angeles with the Jays now up on that Guerrero homer. I'm interested to see the offseason for the Jays and how much Vladdy goes to bang on the table in saying, hey, I don't care. You're bringing Bo Bichette back, because I think Vladdy can pretty much get anything he wants right now, and he's earned that right. And we know Bo Bichette has been a huge part of this run to get to this point. You know, obviously he hadn't played before this series, but Bo Bichette was the catalyst, excuse me, for Toronto getting them to this point, and Vladdy has picked up the slack into the postseason. We were watching the game last night, and you know, my fiance is not much of a baseball fan at all. She loves spring training. She gets pissed every year when we lose out on the raffle to see the Savannah Bananas when they come rolling into Arizona here. But we're watching the game last night, and I just threw this out. So I had the sound kind of down a little bit because we were talking. She was invested in the game at that point. I was like, all right, I'm going to take advantage of this shit right here. I was like, I wonder if they're going to run out of baseballs. I guess they said it on the broadcast. Rachel Nichols on Blue Sky today. 290 baseballs were ready for last night's game. They only had 70 left.
That's crazy.
You imagine that? Hey guys, we're gonna pick this up tomorrow. We ran out of balls. Like,
yeah, they did mention it. They were kind of joking about how everybody in the stadium was going to get a baseball by the end of the night.
It pretty much felt like everybody in the stadium got a baseball. Anthony Castro Vince. I'm sorry if I butchered your name on X. Just to double down on the Brad Paisley thing. Brad Paisley sung the national anthem before Game 2 in 2017 that went 11 innings. Game 3 in 2018 that went 18 innings. Game 1 in 2022 that went 10 innings. And, of course, last night, another 18-inning ball game. But just absolutely ridiculous. And here's another thing we talked about last week. Seeing Don Mattingly, it's still the most mind-blowing thing in the world to me, a baseball lifer like Donnie Baseball, and this is his first World Series. So, I think there's two schools of thought here. Obviously, there's enough people that hate the Dodgers, and then there's enough people that are like, it's really cool, and it'd be really cool to see a guy like Don Mattingly actually get a World Series ring. So plenty of stuff. We'll try and keep you up to date. We'll try and I know everybody's on different delays, different streaming. Obviously, I talked about streaming and how last night's Sports Equinox I felt was massively fumbled by the four commissioners and the way streaming is, but we'll try and keep you up to date. I'll try and keep my mouth shut as much as I can. But, yeah, I wasn't going to wait on that one because I knew we were going to talk about Vladdy, and he murdered that baseball. So let's get into the college football side of things here, Mac. And the new Mac-12 rankings are out. You saw those on our social channels, hopefully. If not, go follow us on there. What's wrong with you? They're going to come across the bottom of the screen here, as you can see. Again, those are our rankings and how we deem the teams. It'll be really interesting a week from tonight, actually, Mac, when we're going to be, I think we'll be on the air. Actually, no, we got that stupid, useless daylight savings time thing. So we might actually be coming on after they're done. Again, our shows stay on Pacific time, so no matter where you're at, you're going to stay on Pacific time with us, and we appreciate you. Interested to see how they kind of play themselves out as far as the first edition of the college football rankings. But imagine telling somebody this. Well, I'm going to shorten the sample size. 2 years ago, you tell somebody, hey, we're going to have this cool new college football playoff, and there's going to be teams that get a bye, and there's going to be all these other teams. And when we look at the bracket and what we're anticipating it might look like when it comes out, there's a good possibility that we have Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech playing each other in a first-round game for the right to go to Indiana, or to play Indiana, I should say, not to go to Indiana, something that we hope that they fix and change down the road. But we've got some interesting teams that are crashing the party here. We've got some teams right now that are really, really hot. I know one of these teams, you've literally said we need to talk about this team. Give me that one team in the top side of the Mac-12 rankings. We know they're going to be in the top side, barring anything crazy. of the CFP rankings that you think is the most dangerous right now?
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, they're high in all the rankings, but I'll be honest with you. I don't. I'll be honest. I know we haven't talked a lot about them, and I just don't hear a lot of even nationally about this team, and that's Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really good. I kind of was really looking. I mean, you start with Marcel Reed. I mean, he should be a legitimate Heisman candidate.
Yep.
And you're not really, his name is kind of being tossed in there a little bit, but not really. Almost 2,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns. He's got this team undefeated. This is a team that, from an offensive standpoint, has been pretty good. I mean, remember, they beat Notre Dame. They put 41 on Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
34 on Florida, 45 on Arkansas, 49 on LSU. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, I mean, I'm not going to disbar what they have this week, but they have Texas down the road a little bit too. But I don't think enough is being said. I looked at this team from an offensive standpoint, balanced. They're averaging 259 yards in the air, 200 yards on the ground. They're averaging 37 points. They're giving up just 23 points. I don't think enough has been said about this Texas A&M team. And I watched them last week. Very dangerous. This is a very good team that hasn't got the run.
Yeah, and to double down on Marcel Reed, I mean, 64 carries for 349 yards for your math whizzes out there. That's 5.5 yards a carry, another 6 touchdowns on the ground. And if you were listening to the game on Saturday on the broadcast with Herbie and Fowler, when they dismantled another year where they just took LSU to the woodshed in the second half of a game. And Herbie was going through their schedule, the Aggies' schedule coming up down the stretch here. And, he's going, look at this schedule. And he goes, Missouri, South Carolina. And then he got to the point where they were at Samford. He's like, who's Sam? And
Right.
Fowler chimes in and he goes, oh, the Samford. And he goes, yeah, okay, whatever. And then Texas. And
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, I know it's a rivalry game. It is one of the more underspoken rivalry games out there. There is some real deep-rooted hate between these teams when they play at Texas on November 28th. I think they're going to absolutely beat the living hell out of Texas. My biggest problem with what's going on right now, as we get closer, as we are now a week out from the college football rankings, why in the hell is Texas still even ranked? What have they done to show that they're the 20th team in the country? Get the hell out of here with that nonsense.
Yeah, I know. And then go ahead and watch what they do in there, what they do this week, right? That's what it is. I mean, they. But here's the thing. I mean, they were all. I don't want to say about one person, but it kind of was. It was all Arch Manning. That's all we heard in the whole offseason was Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Heisman. Texas is number one. Texas is number one, and it hasn't worked out. They've shown a slight glimpse here and there, but I mean, I know we'll talk about probably a little bit more, but just it's a very inconsistent team. Again, we've talked about that all year. The inconsistency of a lot of these teams. I think Texas is squarely in there. Like I don't, especially if Arch doesn't play. If he doesn't play this week, he's been in concussion protocol. I don't think Texas has a chance.
I saw that when on Sunday when the rankings got put out, and I'm like, why in the hell was this team even ranked anymore? You mentioned Marcel Reed for Heisman, and another hot topic right now is Vanderbilt. And I'm going to put this out, and this was on X from SEC numbers guy. Diego Pavia is getting a lot of people saying, hey, this guy should be in the Heisman conversation. Stop that right now. I love what Vanderbilt's doing. He is definitely the Energizer Bunny, the catalyst for their moxie and their attitude and what they're doing, and a major reason why they are where they are. I'm going to give you some passing totals here against SEC teams. 177 yards and 2 touchdowns against South Carolina, 198 yards and 1 touchdown against Alabama, 160 yards and 1 touchdown against LSU, 129 yards and no touchdowns against Missouri. Diego Pavia, you can say he might be the most valuable player in college football, and I can buy that. He is not a Heisman candidate with those numbers. Let's just put those two things in separate categories.
It's kind of interesting when you start looking at a lot of the quarterbacks that we have this year. They're not throwing up like these ginormous statistics that we normally see from quarterbacks. what we're starting to see are quarterbacks that can control the game. And it's very interesting to me. And I've started to notice that a lot of these quarterbacks are controlling the game. Will they win you a game? Yeah, they might from here to there, but their job is not, in essence, and where it reminds me is the guy that you love is like Bo Nix. That's how I kind of see Bo Nix. Bo Nix doesn't actually have to go out and win you games. You don't want him to lose you games. He's a manager, and that's how I see it. A lot of these quarterbacks this year just seem to me just fall into that category of, man, just don't screw it up. Just do what we need to do to win. Follow the game plan. Be consistent. Make the right pass. Run when you need to. Get out of trouble, but just don't do anything really stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching along, feel free to check in, chime in, follow along, watch along, comment along. Jesus, get the freaking words out of your mouth, mumble mouth. John Ewing does some stuff with BetMGM, and if you're not following him on X, I suggest you do, because here's an interesting thing. Popular money, so we're talking 60% of the money bets on college football in Week 9. 87% on Louisville, they didn't cover. 86% on Iowa State, they didn't cover. 84% on Vanderbilt, they did cover. So keep track of this, Mac. That's one. 76% on Virginia, nope. 75% on Alabama, nope. 73% on LSU, well, we know the answer to that. That was a no. 69% South Florida, Kentucky, Illinois, UCLA. 66% on Ole Miss, they did cover. That's 2. Texas, 66%, they did not cover. 29.5 was what Miami laid, and they did cover. 62% on Baylor, they did not cover. 3 of those games, and it translated over to the NFL on Sunday from a betting standpoint too. The general public, the popular money, if you will, got its ass literally handed to them this weekend. One more thing on Texas A&M here before we talk about the elephant in the room, which is the coaching carousel, which needs a new carousel now because we've got no more vacancy left. Carter Carroll's on Twitter. Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed said that Tommy Moffitt was the strength and conditioning coach at LSU that was not retained by Brian Kelly, who's just a dynamite human being, we're finding out over the last couple of days. Moffitt brought a tackle dummy with Brian Kelly's face on it to practice on Thursday. That Texas A&M team was going to make sure they went into Death Valley, walk in your trap, steal your trap, blah, blah, blah. We've got some interesting stuff in the coaching carousel. Obviously, on Sunday night, we found out late that Brian Kelly was asked to kindly leave the premises at LSU. You want to talk about one of the worst possible fits of all time. And Notre Dame fans are laughing their little Irish butts off right now about this because they tried to tell everybody about this and nobody wanted to listen. Now we have another job open. So when we look at and no offense, maybe there is offense, UAB and Kent State, we're not throwing you into this conversation here, but we look at the jobs that are currently open. LSU, Florida, Penn State, Arkansas, UCLA, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Virginia Tech, Stanford, and I put down a 10th category, other. And there's some teams that are we're not done with this. And we're seeing an interesting shift in dynamic as far as college football goes, especially when it comes to buyouts and these schools that are not afraid anymore to just go, you know what, this isn't working, so the hell with you. Head coaching buyouts this season: Brian Kelly, $53 million, James Franklin, $49.7, Billy Napier, $21.2, Mike Gundy, $15, Sam Pittman, just a hair under 10. Deshaun Foster's buyout was almost $6.5 million. Can't really figure that one out. Brent Pry, $6 million. Trent Bray at Oregon State, $4 million. Trent Dilfer, who was bounced from UAB, this is another one I can't figure out, $2.4 million. And TJ's favorite college coach, Jay Norvell, $1.5 million bounced out of Colorado State. So it leads to an interesting debate here. And Mac and I are going to try and play the match game here with some of what we've heard and some of just what we think as far as these college coaching openings go. And the biggest thing here, and I'll introduce this to the program. I just had to throw that out there. That's literally like the 4 faces of Brian Kelly. And now he's, nobody's going to feel sorry for him. He's got $50 million. He can go play golf for the rest of his life for all we care. Some of the stuff we're hearing about Brian Kelly, I'm interested to see if maybe we've seen the last of Brian Kelly. This is the interesting debate when it comes to the SEC. You've got the LSU job, you've got the Florida job, you've got the Arkansas job, which is funny because Arkansas has a lot of money.
They do.
And they're a team that can kind of be one of those fringe teams in the SEC, be competitive. I think it's an attractive job. That being said, the biggest part of the debate right now is what is the better job? Is it Penn State? Is it Florida? Or is it LSU? And we've had some interesting interactions. Good God, English is a tough language. On Twitter this week, X, whatever you want to call it, about people staking claim to which job is a better job. So I ask you, I'm putting you on the firing line right here. What is the best job of those three, in your opinion, before we try and match some coaches with new jobs?
I'm gonna. I like Florida and LSU. I mean, there's a lot to be considered for both of them. I think that a lot of them have a lot going for them. If I had to lean one way or another, I'd give just a slight advantage to LSU, and here's the only reason I'd give it to LSU, maybe just a tad bit over Florida. It just has to do with kind of where they are. Their competition. They don't have as much in-state or even the states around them where they have as much competition. With Florida, all those good players that are in Florida, you still have Florida State, you have the University of Florida, among others that you're competing with. And so if I had to give a slight big toe advantage, I'd give a slight big toe advantage to LSU, but it's a slight big toe advantage, and that's about it.
That's an interesting way to determine it. The Athletic had a really good breakdown of these open jobs, as did Adam Rittenberg of ESPN. And I think, everybody wants to pound their chest for their school and say, hey, our job's a better job than yours, more prestigious, whatever the case may be. You got to look at a few different things. What is the program just done on the field is the first one. What is their opportunity to get to the college football playoff? Because that's what all of this and all these coaches and their buyouts are kind of based on now. Jesus, what is going on tonight? Roster building, the leadership of a school, the financial support, and just a general here. And I think when you look at any of the jobs in the SEC, so Florida, LSU, and Arkansas, you got to say first and foremost, especially with what we're seeing right now, Kalen DeBoer and Alabama, they're rolling. Texas A&M and Mike Elko, they're obviously rolling. The pathway, I think, to the college football playoff in the SEC is very, very difficult compared to Penn State maybe having it. But here's my thing with Penn State, and I think this is where one of the arguments started. I can't remember the slate of arguments, and very good discussion back and forth. I mean, I don't think anybody was saying anything ridiculous, but you sit here and you go, wow, Penn State's got easier access to the college football playoff. Do they? Because what are we pumping Penn State for here? Not being relevant since when they win their last national championship. Oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, and they've had some good seasons in there. But you've got Oregon, who's not going anywhere. You've got Ohio State, who's clearly not going anywhere. You've got Michigan, who is always going to have the big brand value to bring in the top of the line players that they can. And then you've now got Indiana, who looks like they have staying power there. Those are four schools right now that I would say Penn State is not within four stadiums of. And that could be four stadiums in the ACC, which spans the entire freaking face of North America. Like, Penn State is way... You can give me name all you want. Penn State is not anywhere close to being able to compete for a college football playoff spot or a national championship right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because when we hear a name, it invokes a lot of things. And I'll use like Vandy. You look at Vandy and people, football doesn't jump to my mind when I think of Vandy, but they're a very good football team. And that's the kind of thing. And it's the same, with Penn State. Penn State has a good history. But like you said, I don't know recently that I even consider Penn State there. I mean, I know they were in the national championship game last year. I get that. I just don't see it. I just don't. I don't feel it with them. I don't like. I think Alabama. I mean, I put Alabama up there, even kind of in a bad year. I think a bad Alabama team always is better than a good Penn State team. It's just, kind of how we see those teams. So name is one thing. Name can be important. Name is important for some, but listen, let's be honest. I think for my generation and maybe part of your generation, I think name is more important. I honestly don't think the kids nowadays are all that worried about the name that's in front. There's a lot more that goes into the, if you didn't put it this way, if you were recruiting, if you had 5 schools recruiting the kid and you didn't tell them what the name of the schools were and you just kind of gave all the bells and whistles, that's all they're caring about. They're not caring about that name that's on the front.
No, and that's where I think you really got to look at this. And I'll use Florida as an example here, and I'll tell you what the problem is with Florida and whoever their new head coach is. Florida, at the University of Florida, you have access to so much Division I level talent in the state of Florida. You've got access to money. There's boosters involved with that program that want to spend the money. The problem in Florida is their athletic director. Scott Strickland is an idiot. And I can go through this list of all the sports. Obviously everybody just wants to talk about football here, but I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different coaches amongst all of the Division I sports for Florida that he's hired that are no longer with the program. That's the problem. Strickland got the new baseball stadium built, which paved the way for the new football complex, which, as you're bringing in recruits who want the money, but they also want the facilities, they want the goods, you've got to deal with Jordan Brand. You've got a stadium at the Swamp that remains sold out and is loud as hell and still one of the toughest places to play in all of college football, despite the program basically being non-existent. I mean, and I will throw this back. We know where this started. It was a foggy, dark, dense, ridiculous Saturday, and a shoe got thrown, and they lost to LSU when Kyle Trask should have won the Heisman, and the program has never been the same since then. My concern, if you're a Gators fan, is the guy who's making the hire there. What is it for Florida? It's Lane Kiffin. It's always been Lane Kiffin. But now, and again, this is why a lot of people wanted Napier fired last year. And the other thing that Scott Strickland did is he built in a contract that had 0 safeguards for the situation with Billy Napier going south, which it did, because Billy Napier can go get a job tomorrow and Florida's still paying him. There's no language in there. James Franklin's contract is offset. If he goes and gets another job, Penn State only has to pay the difference. Florida's on the hook for every dime of that deal with Billy Napier, and that's why I think you'd be concerned or scared if you're a Florida fan, is the guy making the hire, not necessarily who it is.
This is going to be very interesting. Like I said, I don't recollect this many big-time programs and big-time coaches that we have to put these pieces together. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And you're right. This is a total dynamic. This is a total shift from an entire school standpoint. I think as things continue to ramp up and we learn more about how this NIL money is going to be used and whatnot, I think you're going to see changes in how athletic departments are run, because it's just the way that it is. It's not going to be the way that it was in the past. There's going to have to be changes, because it's with all the sports. We obviously hook on the major sports, but it's a lot of the minor sports too that some of those minor sports, some of the smaller teams can compete with Division I schools because of what they can give. So I think you're going to see a big shift in how big power schools actually run their athletic programs.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing when we talk about, what makes a good job and what doesn't make a good job, and if you think that one of these jobs is better than the other, feel free to comment along. But based on estimated valuation, so we're talking what is the program worth? LSU 10th among Power 4 programs at $1.2 billion. Penn State $1.2 billion, slightly behind LSU, so they're 11th. Florida at $1.08 billion. They are 12th. So you've got 3 of the top 12 as far as program valuations go that are all now looking for a job. And TJ said this in our group text the other day, and I'm going to ask him this when he rejoins us tomorrow night. what are we going to do here? Just recycle somebody else's old garbage? Because there are far more jobs open than there are quality candidates to replace them. And we've talked about it in retrospect with the Florida situation. Florida can't afford to go down to the group of five. They can't go hire the flashy coordinator. Florida has to get a John Gruden, a Lane Kiffin. They've got to swing for the fences, and they've got to get it over the damn fence on this one. Otherwise, I can guarantee you Scott Strickland's getting his ass fired. You know, when we look at Penn State and LSU, I would not hesitate to call LSU the best open job without a doubt. You brought up an interesting point when we were talking about what is in your head and what LSU is. Why don't you share that with everybody?
Yeah, when I think of LSU, to me, they're an edgy program, and they haven't had that edgy coach there for a while. And I mean, it's just that's kind of how I feel. I mean, I remember I had a friend who worked down at the U of A, and he used to do everything for the football team. And I asked him, I said, "What's the most intimidating place to play?" And you know, and Arizona does play a variety of different teams, but he said, without a doubt, he didn't have to even think about it. He said LSU. He goes, you go to walk onto the field, and they got that damn Bengal tiger right there. You know what I mean? Like, it just, for me, LSU always has had an edge, and they haven't got a coach that has that edge that they have. So maybe I have one for them.
Ooh, all right. Jeez, Ron. Now
Check
I'm pulling
one, two,
it.
check.
Yeah, now I'm pulling a you with the microphone. All right, so let's look at this here for a second, and let's try and play the match game here, and
All right.
see if we let's do the job of athletic directors and see if we can find a good match for these open programs. And again, I listed the list again. Shade or no shade? I mean, probably shade. UAB and Kent State, you're not. You weren't invited to this party. LSU, Florida, Penn State, Arkansas, UCLA, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Virginia Tech, Stanford, and I did say other because I would venture to guess that Luke Fickell's days at Wisconsin are few and far between. So I am going to include Wisconsin on the list. Would you like to add anybody to the list before we start matching? Or do you just want to wait and see until next weekend and we find somebody else get fired?
I mean, for fun, I would add BC to the list just because but
nobody cares about Boston College except for you.
I know, that's what I said. No, I have no. How about Florida State? We don't have Florida State on there.
I think that's an interesting one because what we've been able to tell, I've made some phone calls. Sounds like there's a little bit of chatter at how do we buy out Mike Norvell at Florida State. So we can throw that on there. But let's start with the aforementioned edgy Tigers of LSU. Give me your best match for Louisiana State University.
All right. Like I said, I'm looking for somebody who's going to bring that edge. That this is someone who just is going to put it out there, is going to turn this team around. I got the guy for you. Ready? This is not going to make you happy, but it's going to be Lane Kiffin.
You son of a bitch.
I listen, he fits what I think should be the coach at LSU. He has that roughness to him, that toughness to him, that kind of I don't really care. I think this would be an absolute great hire for them. We know that LSU always kind of brings that defense. They have a little bit more of that offensive push with him there. He's the guy for LSU.
Interesting. Auburn's another name we could definitely throw on this list, but we got to keep it kind of short here for sake. You know what? As much as I hate this, I agree with you. And you're probably going to hear Lane Kiffin's name come up a couple of times in this when we're talking about best matches. Now, I know you did the extra homework. I'm sure you don't have a repeat guy on your list. I think both LSU and Florida, the best match and the best fit is absolutely Lane Kiffin in both jobs because he fits both jobs. I've heard people throw out James Franklin's name to Florida. The hell no. I've already said it on the show. I'll go down the day they hire James Franklin at Florida and buy Florida State gear. And if you know me well enough, you know that literally rips my insides like no tomorrow. So I think for me, it's Lane Kiffin at either spot because he does. He fits. He's got he has the experience in the SEC. He's got the moxie of the SEC. Think about Lane Kiffin's offense on this year's LSU team with LSU's defense. That's a bona fide national title contender there, and they would love Lane at LSU. I think the thing is the Florida job has always been. This isn't the right term for it, but the Florida job has always been the holy grail for Lane Kiffin. Idolize Steve Spurrier. Where's the damn visor? I mean, like, he fits the Florida program more than anything. You know, if you go back to when Florida was a powerhouse, Urban Meyer, yeah, we could do without all the arrests and everything, but they were edgy. They were
Right.
in your face. They had the swagger. It's a swagger they have not had since Urban Meyer left. And you know what I feel about Urban Meyer. So give me your match for Florida, since mine is the same for both schools.
Oh man, you may be selling your gear. I was trying to find the right fit, and I kind of saying, okay, we got to have a link back to Spurrier. That is what we got to do. And so that's what I went, and I was trying to say, okay, so who's had some success over the last couple of years? It's kind of, this is the only thing with this pick. It feels safe for me, and I don't know that Florida wants to go safe.
They better
But
friggin' not.
I think when you talk about it from what this person can do, I think it would be a good fit, and that's Jed Fish.
Son of a bitch.
But I know you got to take
He's
your
got
heart
a
out of it.
great job. It's Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful.
I know, but you know, again, when you're talking about your alma mater, to me that seems like it almost seems too safe. That's the only thing about it that I don't like. It seems like too safe a bet. But I think from what they're trying to accomplish, I think it would be the right fit.
I don't even. I gotta
I
go
know.
wash my ears out after listening to that shit. Penn State. Let's talk about Penn State here, because I
All
think
right.
this is. I think this is an interesting one, and I've got a name that I haven't heard anybody bring this up, and I don't know why, but I also understand why, because I think he might be forgotten. When I look at Penn State and what they are, and what their program historically has been, not really a high flying kind of offense thing. Do a lot with what you have and stay within your lane. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that this guy is out there and he is available, and he's got a hell of a lot of experience in the Big Ten. And that's Pat Fitzgerald, the former Northwestern coach. The guy did a lot with very little in his time at Northwestern. All the BS that they tried to attach to him, he's been exonerated and cleared of all wrongdoing there. I think there's a couple of schools that could greatly benefit from Pat Fitzgerald, and I think the best fit for Pat Fitzgerald would be Penn State, because if he could do what he did at Northwestern, think of what he could do with Penn State's resources.
No, I like that. I think that's a good one. I'm kind of torn on this one a little bit. Matt Rule is one name that's kind of been thrown out there, and I kind of see that lick, but I'm going in a different direction on this one. Again, I was trying to put myself in that spot. I was trying to think of somebody who um, needs to bring kind of that defensive part back to Penn State is what I want to see. So I picked Manny Diaz from Duke.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's got familiarity there.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I thought that would be a good, I bring back that Penn State defense. Like that's what we're gonna do. So I tried not to pick anybody for two jobs, so I had to go a little bit out of the box on that one.
Look at you. Whoever is writing the paychecks on this show should get a little bonus for doing the extra work there. Next one on our list would be Woo Pig Suey at Arkansas.
Oh,
I'm really excited to see what they do. I think Arkansas, again, is kind of, I don't want to call them a sleeping giant. I'm not going to sit here and say whoever they hire is going to put them at the top of the SEC, because that is one hell of a mountain to climb. But a guy who I think is ready for the jump and would be a really, really, really good fit at Arkansas, because I think he's kind of tapped his head on the ceiling where he's at, is everybody's favorite character in the SEC, Eli Drinkwitz to Arkansas.
ooh, all right. Well, I like that, but here's what I'm thinking. We talked about it. Arkansas has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They're a pesky team. They're not bad. They're not record wise. They're not great, but they give everybody a hard time. They need someone who's going to get them just a little bit further. I don't know that Arkansas is ever going to be like great national championship kind of contenders, but I think someone to kind of push them a little bit closer to where they need to go. Who's your guy? James Franklin.
Oh my God, I would love to have James Franklin in the SEC as a
Right?
Florida fan.
But
I would love to have him in the
but
SEC.
you know he's not going to go back to his old
Back in
conference.
the SEC, I should say.
Right, right. But I mean, I just think that would be a big name for them. You know, that would get the alumni kind of excited, and it would get the fans excited. I think that's what they kind of need. I think they need a big name there to kind of, again, remember what I said. Not to a national championship, moving him towards a national championship, not winning a national championship. That's how I prefaced the whole thing. And so that's why I thought he would be a good pick there.
If your school is looking for a coach, you give us your thoughts on who a good fit for your particular school or alma mater or just the school you're a fan of would be. Next one up, UCLA, and I'm going to save mine. I'm going to let you go first on this one because I'm going to freaking shock the world with this one. I actually think it's a sensible pick.
I am outside the box. I am, way outside the box on this one.
This is where we get in trouble on this show when you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Brian Hartline.
Oh, wide receivers coach at Ohio State. At
yes.
wide receiver U.
I think that would be they need somebody fresh. I think that would be a really good look for them. How about that? See, I shocked you on that one, huh?
Yeah, that was good. I'll give you credit for that one. Me, UCLA, I'm going to Cliff Kingsbury. SoCal Cliff, wide open offense. Yes, they're in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Maybe if they're lucky, they can get out of the Big Ten and get into the revamped Pac-12 that we will talk about here in a second. But I think if you're UCLA, you got to try and go the former pro. A guy who's familiar with the area. Obviously, he spent time down there with Caleb Williams when he was at USC as the offensive coordinator. I think he would be a fantastic fit for a program that absolutely needs CPR, resuscitation, whatever the case may be, because they can't go wrong on this one right here. I think Tim Skipper's also got a really good chance to maybe keep that job or get that job, the interim tag lifted, because he's done a fantastic job. They got their asses kicked by Indiana, but that's a lot of teams have gotten their asses kicked by Indiana. All right, next one, Oklahoma State, formerly our guy, Mike Gundy. Who's your pick for Oklahoma State? I think this one's a no-brainer and probably close to a done deal, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think they need somebody young. I think it's got to be somebody from Texas, somebody from Oklahoma, because that's just the way Oklahoma is. I decided on Ben Arbuckle.
That's a name I haven't actually seen out there a ton, and I'm a little shocked that I haven't.
Yeah, I think that would be a good fit. I mean, OC at Oklahoma, just, because again, I try to think of like when I think of these teams and I was doing these picks, I was trying to think of like what I think of their personality. And for me, when I think of Oklahoma State, I think of just the offense, running backs, freelancing. I just think that would be a good pick for them. Somebody young, somebody up and coming. I think that would be a good spot for him.
Mine for Oklahoma State is a guy who is very comfortable rebuilding programs and done a fantastic job rebuilding the one that he's at right now. But it's time to get out of the group of five and to go back to big boy football. And I'm not knocking what he's done. It's Alex Golesh, the head coach at South Florida. Golesh, kind of a Josh Heupel disciple. He was at Iowa State back in the day, familiar with the Big 12. Obviously, it looks like Oklahoma State is going to be a rebuild project. And I think that's the kind of guy that can rebuild the Pokes into kind of back to being competitive every year in that conference. And I really don't think there's much more for him to do at South Florida. Obviously, they've had a really good year. Strike while the iron's hot. It makes a lot of sense for me to see him make that move, especially because he has those roots back there. And I don't think a lot of people know a ton about Alex Golesh right now. And that South Florida program was an absolute abomination when he took them over. So that's my one for there. Oregon State. And you're saying, why in the hell do we have Oregon State? Remember, the Pac-12 is getting a rebirth, and Boise State will be a part of this conference. But outside of that, when you look at the the programs that are going to be involved here. This is a program that is this is a conference that will be winnable. Now, how that plays into what happens with the CFP, we don't know yet because we haven't gotten there yet. But Oregon State, they completely overhauled Reser Stadium, which is, by the way, Reser Stadium in Corvallis is a fantastic place to watch a college football game. I was there when it was old Reser. I can't wait to go back and see what it's like at new Reser. But I think this is a really good, low-key, kind of good job. And I've got the perfect guy, but I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, as I was kind of doing my research on this one, there's one name that just kept coming up over and over and over.
I should have went first, damn it.
I mean, it just seems like, Coach O wants this one bad, so I gave it to him.
Go Beavs. I mean, can't you hear him say, go Beavs?
Yes.
There's a lot of, that was one of the things I did. I'm not going to lie here. I love Coach O. We've talked about him on the show. I've looked at some of these jobs and just envisioned him saying, go Lions, go Bruins, like, go Beavs. And Orgeron State is there's so many ways you can do this. I would love to see Coach O back in the mix. And that, I don't think we need to see him go take over UAB. I don't think he has anything to prove to anybody to earn his stripes again. I think you could go up to Corvallis and actually build a solid football program can you imagine Oregon State and Boise State at the top of that conference like going after each other every year? I think he's a perfect fit there. Virginia Tech, this one's a no-brainer for me. I'm not going to let you steal my thunder here. It's Shane Beamer. It is absolutely Shane Beamer. If it's not Shane Beamer, then maybe it's Michael Vick. But has Michael Vick done enough yet? Does he have enough coaching experience? That would be the question. I think it's absolutely Shane Beamer, and you wait for Shane Beamer to tell you no. And if he tells you no, then I don't know how attractive you're going to be other than Enter Sandman's cool when the team takes the field, but that's all you got. Stanford. With our favorite general, Andrew Luck, in charge of the football program. Frank Reich, for those that don't know, is only there in a temporary setting. So I think Stanford's another interesting one because, hey, let's be honest, in the ACC, it's kind of wide open. So you go first on Stanford.
All right.
This was the toughest one for me.
This one was tough. I read a lot about this. I just think they're going to run this as like an NFL team. And if you want an NFL team, you need an NFL coach. Jason Garrett.
Oh, dear Lord. Anything to get him to stop dancing on Sunday Night Football's pregame show.
But listen, really, I think he would be a really good fit for Stanford. His offensive knowledge, I think that would be perfect. And he's kind of I don't know. I just thought it was a good pick.
I can feel that. I can see that.
I was trying to find somebody who has that NFL experience, and that's just one guy that just kind of came to mind. He's still there. I don't know that he's going to get an NFL job. I thought this would be a good way for him to get back into coaching.
That would be a scene. And again, to get him off of dancing on Football Night in America would be the benefit to all of us watching. Brian Harsin. We know when he was at Auburn, it didn't work out very well for him. A lot of people have forgotten all about him. He's the offensive coordinator at Cal. You see where I'm going there. Add some drama to the rivalry of Cal and Stanford. But I think if you've seen over the last couple of years what Justin Wilcox has done with that Cal program and how their offense has really been over the last couple of years, I think that Brian Harsin, because he's already in the area, he knows the area. Obviously, in the ACC, they're recruiting everywhere, but I think he'd be a really, really good fit there, and I could see him and Andrew Luck working very, very well together. I think that would be worth kicking the tires on if I'm Stanford.
The other one that I had for Stanford, and I was trying to think of, again, who fits kind of like that profile, is Jeff Munkin from Army.
Yes.
I think...
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I just think that you have somebody who understands, let's be honest, there's some limitations to Stanford as far as the players they can get in. And when you've coached at a military school, there's certain limitations of players that you can get there. So it's somebody who could work with that, who's still, a really good football mind. He was like my 1B.
Yeah, I could see that. And there's a group of other names here which are interesting. And you'll love this because I'm going to go into D3 football here for you. Mount
Nice.
Union. And if you're not familiar with Mount Union, they are an absolute D3 powerhouse. Their current head coach, Jeff Dart, 61-4 in his short time there. I'd be interested to see if a UAB or a South Florida having to replace an Alex Golesh, which way that kind of situation goes. I think Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks, he's going to get some looks at some of these smaller jobs. Another guy that I couldn't really place him somewhere, but I'm interested to see if he's comfortable and likes where he's at enough, or if he wants to make a move. And I think this guy is kind of, for me, the ultimate wild card in this scenario is SMU head coach Rhett Lashley, who I think has done a ridiculously good job there. I'm interested to see where he plays. I'm glad you brought up Jeff Monken because I think he's another kind of wild card in this whole thing. And again, we've talked about this. We could have Wisconsin open. We could have Florida State open. Tony White, the defensive coordinator at Florida State. Gus Malzahn, does he go back to head coaching somewhere? So as these chips continue to fall, we're going to have more players in the game. Luke Fickell, where does he go from here?
It's funny you said Rhett Lashley because I had him in two or three different. I made like two or three different people for each one. He probably appeared on like 3 or 4 different places where I could have put him. I didn't really put him as the number one guy, but he showed up for me on a couple of different places.
That's another good one too.
Yeah.
That's another program that's been very good. Interested to see what happens with Brian Kelly as well. Because I'm interested to see if somebody does hire him after all this stuff that has continued to come out since his firing. I'm interested to see where he goes. If he ends up in can you imagine if Brian Kelly ends up at UCLA in his first press conference, they bring him out at Pauley Pavilion during a basketball game and he goes, "Yeah, I'm so excited to be in Southern California, brah." He bought into the LSU accent, which everybody thought was fake as hell from step one. Interested to see. So again, there's going to be a lot more dominoes as we go forward there. Final word on the coaches. What the hell?
On the coaches, we didn't even mention someone like Gundy who could get recycled back in as well. I don't know where. Like I said, I didn't really see him a fit for any of these, but I mean, it's going to be. We don't usually talk college football and off season. Those two things don't really go together. But I think we may be on the precipice of college football having a definite off season.
Yeah, and that's definitely for sure. We've got a decent weekend coming up, and I'm going to go back to this. And if you needed any more proof that preseason rankings don't mean a damn thing, this was the schedule. The bottom of that is Florida, which is not important. They were ranked at the beginning of the year. But look at this right now as we go into this November 1st weekend. Look at these matchups from the beginning of the year. Those were the preseason rankings on all these schools, and look at how many of them are not ranked. I mean, if you needed any more proof that, and I still think we've got really good games in this, so I'm not going to say we're not. If you've looked at the Penn State-Ohio State line, you've probably laughed like I have. If you haven't, I would suggest going to look at that line, and then you can probably guess where my mental train is going on this one. If you did it on the look-ahead line a couple of weeks ago, even after James Franklin was fired, man, you're sitting on a fat payday this weekend. Yeah, you see what the spread is? Why don't you tell the people, since I know you just looked at it because you laughed.
It's almost Mack big spread worthy. It's 20.5.
Yeah, it was, I believe, if I remember correctly, and I'll look this up for tomorrow's program, but it was still under 10 as of 2.5 weeks ago.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, if you jumped on that, hey, congrats. I hope you put the pink slip to your house on it, because that is going to be a bloodbath on this weekend's schedule. Let's pivot here to the NFL. We had these weekends happen, but we had one score game all weekend last weekend, and you're not going to believe who it was. I know you know at this point. It was the Jets and the friggin' Bengals. Every other game was essentially a blowout or You know, let's go to the Niner-Texans game, 11 points. But if you watch the game, the Niners were never really in it, partially because they didn't touch the football pretty much the entire first friggin' half against Houston. So big win for the Texans there. What stood out to you, Mac, from the weekend? Couple of takeaways as we look at what was kind of lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me was how the two teams that I had my eye on this week. I had my eye on Buffalo and I had my eye on Kansas City because I knew they were playing this coming week, and I wanted to see how they were going to respond to that. And man, oh man, James Cook, ran for like 500 yards in himself in that game. I mean, that was just one of those things that I really wanted to see how the Bills. The other one was the Buccaneers. I wanted to see what they were going to do against a New Orleans team that just wasn't really good. If they were just going to, continue to show up, and they did. They're just, we've talked a lot about this Tampa team, and they're going to win the Cockroach Award because they're just not going away.
Yeah. I mean, and it's they literally, that's a team, and I know you and T have talked about this a lot. I was a little later to the train on this, but that's a team in Tampa Bay that has 1,000% backed and picked up on the moxie of their quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I've just been so happy with the Colts. I mean, finally, they're starting to get some national attention. I hope that doesn't hurt them. But man, oh man, I'm telling you, this is all of a sudden a scary, scary football team.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the Colts here. And normally, I'll admit I'm a little selfish here. I mean, not that anything I bet ever moves a line, but and I get this. We know the MVP has turned itself into a quarterback award. As much as I hate that, I know you hate that, and this, that, and the other thing. But we're looking at a guy. Here's a guy in Jonathan Taylor. Okay, 98 yards, 215, 118, 96, 86, 137, 132, 174. Those are his yardage totals. One receiving touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 rush touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 rush touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. He has more touchdowns by himself than 5 teams in the NFL do this year. I was going to show that graphic, but the computer's not cooperating right now. I think we need to have a serious conversation about Jonathan Taylor and what he's doing. And if you need comparison point, I'll give it to you from the Pat McAfee show on Monday. 2025 Jonathan Taylor, 1,056 yards from scrimmage, 14 touchdowns. 2012 Adrian Peterson, 914 yards, 4 touchdowns. LaDainian Tomlinson in 06, TJ's boy. 1,151 yards from scrimmage, 14 touchdowns. 2005 Sean Alexander, 981 yards from scrimmage, 14 touchdowns. Why did I mention those other games or other names? There's his numbers through 8 games that compare to the last 3 running backs, Tomlinson, Peterson, and Alexander, who did win the MVP. He has equaled their touchdowns and exceeded everybody's yards except for LaDainian Tomlinson, and we're only on week 8. I think we need to have a strong conversation about a guy who, for some reason, and maybe it's because it is typically a quarterback award, he is still 14-1 on one betting site to win the MVP. I think it's worth a dabble.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to have a great offensive weekend again this weekend because they're playing against a defense that isn't. So they're just going to have an absolute field day, this week in Pittsburgh because the Steelers, as we've talked about, don't know how to play defense. They just don't. They're the highest paid worst defense in the NFL, and that's just not me in my hyperbole. That is the truth. It is the absolute truth.
Yeah, I don't know what to make out of that game on Sunday night. I will do this, something that I have not done on this program. I will absolutely give Jordan Love his flowers because he was the man on Sunday night. Man. Tucker Kraft was the freaking man, playing like a man possessed on Sunday night. Massive win. I know I was heavy on the Steelers side there. I had a horrible weekend on the spread, 1-4. Thanks to Kayshon Boutte, who got me in the end zone. That's another team I want to talk about as well. That connection between Boutte and May right now is ridiculously good. And this Patriots team might be more of a threat to Buffalo than we thought. I don't think they're going to win the division over the Bills. I think the Bills got a week off. They got a couple guys healthy. They have some more guys because of the week off that are healthier. And a game that I thought would be kind of at least a little bit tricky for them was an absolute ass kicking. You mentioned James Cook, but this Patriots team, I'm starting to kind of warm to them, and I don't think any of us are surprised because of who the head coach is.
No, and the other thing is, remember, their schedule isn't exactly a barn
it's dog
burner.
shit. Let's just call it what it is.
They've got the Falcons. They do have the Buccaneers in there, but other than that, it's the Jets, Cincinnati, the Giants. They have the Bills and the Ravens back to back, and then the Jets and Dolphins. I mean, and they've already beat the Bills in Buffalo, so this one is in New England. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be very, very tough because of who they play or don't play down the stretch. And this is a young team. This is a team that is it's so crazy. Isn't it crazy how you can get one guy, one head coach to completely change? Let's be honest. The Patriots have been dog crap the last couple of years. They've absolutely been dog. He has come in and changed. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. Man, Tennessee's got to be just kicking their butt on twice every day that they let this guy go. I mean, but congrats to New England. I mean, I'm happy for the Patriots. It's fun when the Patriots are doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys laughed at me a couple of weeks ago. I think it was about 3 weeks ago now, when I said I would double down on Kansas City winning the West. Yeah. So I've got another proclamation in the AFC for you. And it is a question that you asked me a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you right now, the Baltimore Ravens are going to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Their schedule: at Miami, at Minnesota, at Cleveland, the Jets, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bengals again. I'm a little concerned with the end of their schedule here, and this could be the speed bump for them. But I don't know. They might not lose a game before they get to this point. Their final 3 games for the Ravens: at home against the Patriots, and then they finish back-to-back road games at Green Bay. And, of course, what would an NFL season be if they didn't finish a season at Pittsburgh? And it'll be rainy, muddy. You won't be able to see. It'll be ugly, and we'll see if the Steelers show up. I think this Ravens team's going to the playoffs. I think they absolutely are going to the playoffs because of their schedule. And if they get tripped up, it's going to be those final 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of bark in that dog, that schedule, that's for sure. I mean, when you've got, I mean, look at those teams. I mean, the Jets, the Bengals twice, and the Steelers twice. I mean, none of those teams play any sort of defense. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's exactly what Baltimore needs. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, you're probably right. I can see them absolutely finding a way into the playoffs. And then again, I thought they'd be in the playoffs. I thought they'd be in the Super Bowl. That was my pick. I didn't think they'd do it this way. This is not the way that I saw it. I saw them as going to be this offensive juggernaut. But that definitely is not the case. But if they do get in, that's not a team you want to play come playoff time.
No, not at all. And peeking ahead, just as we finish up here, first of all, we're in the bottom of the 6th, the home half of the 6th. 2-1 still Toronto in that game. When we look at the NFL schedule this weekend, obviously the one that gets all the bright lights and on the marquee is Chiefs at Bills from Highmark on Sunday afternoon. Sunday night football is going to be Seahawks and Commanders, and that could be Marcus Mariota against the Seahawks defense. And Mike McDonald doesn't lose road games as the head coach of the Seahawks. Monday night, we're treated to a joyous game that the over-under is 54.5. It should be about 84.5 between the Cardinals and the Cowboys. I honestly think, I thought Dallas was going to put up more points than they did last week. It's a testament to that Broncos defense. I think Dallas could hang 50 on the Cardinals, especially if Kyler Murray's playing quarterback. Call it shade, call it whatever you want. I've said what I've said about the Cardinals under Kyler Murray. You brought it up earlier in the program, how much better the offense has looked without him running the exact same offense. So that'll be interesting to see. The rest of the NFL slate this weekend, not great. We're going to dive into more of it, obviously, tomorrow. But You've got the Falcons against said Patriots that we were just talking about. Which Falcons team is going to show up to play that game? The one that got their asses handed to them by Miami, or the one that went into Minnesota against a really good Minnesota defense and smacked them in the mouth? The Falcons are the weirdest damn team in the world to me, and they had every opportunity to get out of the gates pretty good here. And the Buccaneers, the cockroaches, as you called them, they're lapping them. The rest of the NFL schedule this weekend, man, it is brutal. San Francisco's in New York to take on the Giants. We talked about that briefly earlier. Hey, and before we get out of here, those of you that have followed us from day one, and I think just a lot of people in general, Cam Scadaboo's injury, just terrible. A dude that was really, since he got all the playing time, putting together a hell of a rookie year. So hopes to a speedy recovery for Scat. And that'll be an interesting one to see what happens with that whole thing in general. I heard somebody float Lane Kiffin's name out today to replace Brian Dable to reunite with Jackson Dart in New York. I would tell you, I also have oceanfront property out in the West Valley of Arizona, if that's what you're looking for there. But we'll get into more of that stuff tomorrow. We're going to finish our NHL tour around with the Pacific Division tomorrow. We've got a couple of college football games. We're going to highlight a big game in the Big 12 to finish the night on Saturday, as well as a key matchup in the SEC, a tricky spot for another team with championship aspirations, Miami, as they travel to SMU. Mack's Big Spread will be out tomorrow on the social channels, as well as TJ's tour across Canada as he drops some hockey in there for us. We've got the Lunchtime Live on Thursday, Lunchtime Live on Friday. So plenty of stuff to come as we go. Who knows? We might be talking about a World Series that is tied. Are you giving me $10 for dealing with you? Is that like a babysitting fee?
No. I have these $10. I'm just wondering if you want to go to a football game, because I could buy tickets for both of us.
Of course, we can't get out of here on a Tuesday without Mack's favorite thing. Give me your ticket prices for this weekend. What's the one?
We can go see North Carolina at Syracuse. Tickets as low as $4. We can both go for $10, Mike. Let's head up to the Q's.
Are they giving away beer for free at that game? Because if they are,
oh my gosh!
Now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble.
Oh, shoot. No,
that was fake. It had my face on it.
It was. Listen, for $8, that's what we're spending on tickets. Heck, we can ask Jen. She'll give us some good places to go eat up there.
You couldn't pay me $8 to go watch that fucking game. The two horrible football programs. Maybe Bill Belichick will leave North Carolina and go to Virginia Tech. I don't know.
But I got one more for you. Let's do one more. How about Louisville at Virginia Tech? Tickets.
Yeah, go ahead and do one more, because I targeted the NFL game that fits our budget.
All right, this one again. Louisville, number 16 in the country. Listen, great thing at Virginia Tech. Get to see a great beginning of the game. We could get in for $7.
Hey, if you $7?
Yeah.
That see, now we're getting expensive. That's $14 for both of us to go.
I know.
I've got one for you. I've got the best one possible for you. If you can borrow another $10 from somebody, you can go. I'll sit outside and drink with people. Monday Night Football.
Oh gosh.
Cardinals Cowboys. You can get in for as low as $19. That is an NFL game.
Well,
between the Cowboys and Cardinals, $19.
I've already
your most expensive ticket. Keep going.
Good.
I'm looking for the expensive one.
All right. I was gonna say I already did my penance. I watched the Cardinals once this year. I'll look for the. We're looking for. Oh goodness, that's a lot.
Your most expensive ticket in the NFL. I think it's no secret what it is. It's Bills and Chiefs, $287. Your second highest ticket price. This one was a little shocking. And not because of where it's at. The second highest ticket price in the NFL this weekend, if you're trying to make weekend plans, Minnesota and poor J.J. McCarthy going into Detroit to take on the Lions. Now, I would imagine he's probably going to have some fans there, because Detroit and Ann Arbor aren't that far from each other. But those are your two expensive tickets. Mack's got discount tickets. He's just looking for somebody to go to a college game with him this weekend. So
you know the college game that's the most expensive, right?
Florida, Georgia. It's got to be. I'm kidding. It's
No,
probably up there, but it's not the most expensive one.
I don't even. I'm looking the Florida Georgia one.
You gotta, well, I would say look at top 25. It's only 87
Yeah,
bucks to get into
yeah,
the cocktail party.
yeah. No, the one that I found was Oklahoma, Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, 246.
Yeah, because there's nothing better to do in Knoxville.
Yeah,
There we
so
go. That's a good time for us to get out of here. For everybody behind
sounds
the
good.
scenes, for TJ, for Vegas Mac, we will be back same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Watch the end of the World Series. You got 5 more hours left.